Hello everyone, I am V.V.GopalaRao, Assistant Professor working in Department of Computer Applications, Aditya University. Okay. Today we are going to discuss about TCP IP protocol layers and their functions. Means TCP IP is a kind of a design which was actually proposed by the standard organizations. Okay, in this case of TCP IP, you have to see the structure of TCP IP, how many layers are there and what are the functions of each and every layer. Every layer we have to be very clearly understand about these things. Okay, finally the actual after completion of this lesson, as a student you are able to know about the layers of TCP IP structure, which is a service model just like the OSI, and after that you are also going to know about how many protocols are available in that and what is the role of each and every protocol, that means what it can do based on the application, that also you are going to understand in this. Okay, you are finding the actual protocol suite on the screen, which is actually consisting of number of layers from physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport layer, session layer, presentation layer, application layer. But out of all the 7 layers which are prescribed in OSI model, some of the layers are actually clubbed, and basically there are only 4 layers that are actually shown in this TCP IP protocol suite, which are like the physical layer, data link layer are combined, and network layer is specially shown, and after that transport layer is also an individual layer we are finding, and after that we are finding the combination of session layer, presentation layer, application layer, which is known as an application layer in this TCP IP protocol suite. Okay, basically I want to say that the TCP IP protocol suite is a list of protocols available or designated in the TCP IP. So this is meant for the selecting of the protocol based on the application from the user side which they are interested to follow. So because services are of various kinds, suppose I want to send a mail, so I have to go for a specific protocol. Similarly, I want to go for the file transfer, so then in that case I cannot go for the normal protocol called TCP or UDP. I have to stick on to some other protocol called FTP, like that. So there are certain protocols which are actually designated in this TCP IP protocol suite, but you must be very clear about what actually the role of each and every protocol, so that at least you should have an idea about what it can do for us as a service point of view. Okay. So I hope you are clear about the protocol suite, which is saying that SMTP, FTP, HTTP, DNS, SNMP, Telnet, and in the transport layer you are finding SCTP, TCP, UDP, and followed by the network layer you are going to find out ICMP, IGMP, RARP and ARP. So these are the various things, protocols we are finding in this. Now I want to briefly say about the role of each and every protocol. So starting from the application layer, and in that you start with the HTTP. Before that, application layer is the very closest layer among all the set of layers, so that any application that the user is interested, first of all that request will be taken up by the application layer, and based on the request only it is going to choose which protocol is meant for do the service which the user is interested basically. So in this case of application layer protocol, let us start with HTTP. HTTP is nothing but hypertext transfer protocol. It is a protocol meant for creating or accessing web pages. You know, web pages are nowadays very prominent to travel in the actual Google. So if you want to know any information better, you have to go for a web page and you have to refer whatever the text you want or whatever the context you want, that you can able to refer in that. So who is going to do this job? Suppose you are interested to know something, then how you can approach to that particular resources? Then in that case I can say that HTTP is the main protocol which is responsible to go to that web page and give you some information about that, what actually the user is interested. So, that is about HTTP. And coming to the next protocol, that is called FTP, the name itself is saying that file transfer protocol. Suppose the user is interested to transfer a file from one system to another system, then HTTP will not work out. You have to go for a separate, a different kind of protocol which is available in application layer, and that is nothing but FTP. FTP is file transfer protocol, meant for transferring the file from one system to another system. And the next protocol is SMTP, simple mail transfer protocol. Suppose the user is interested to send a mail, then the FTP will not work out. Then SMTP plays a very vital role in that to actually do the job of mailing and all other supportive activities. And the other protocol is called POP3, which is POP stands for Post Office Protocol, and the 3 is nothing but the version number. So, there are various versions based on updations, then a version number may change, but POP is nothing but the Post Office Protocol, which is meant for to retrieve or to actually again you want to know the message or a mail, if you want to see again, then that is called retrieving. You can call retrieving, or getting back is called retrieving. And if you want to go for any kind of retrieval, then automatically you have to depend on one protocol, and that protocol is called as POP, and the version is 3. So, that later on some other versions may come into picture based on the requirement of the user. And the next protocol is IMAP, which is called as Internet Message Access Protocol. So, here in this case of IMAP, you are able to manage the mails. Manage in the sense you can update, or you can edit, or you can create, or you can delete any message that is there in the email. That is possible only through IMAP, not with any other protocol available in the TCP IP protocol suite. So, IMAP is meant for only to manage the mails on a server. You have to do the job, the managing of emails only on the server, not on any other normal nodes or any other terminals. Only server is there to do this managing of emails. Okay. And after that, the next protocol is actually DNS, which is meant for the naming of a system based on the domain name. For example, if you want to identify any system or any device in the network, basically addressing is a very prominent role it is playing in the computer network. So, we are going to see how many types of addressing are there, we are going to see in the next slide. But so, it is very difficult to remember all the addresses, because the number, it is actually the address is in the form of a number system. So, it is very difficult to remember all the numbers. So, that alternatively we are going to identify a particular system with its domain name. So, for what reason it is actually created, that is called the domain. So, what field it is actually meant for, it is called the domain. So, based on the requirement to which field you are interested, so the domain name is playing a very important role to identify a system. For instead of going for a direct IP address, because it is very difficult to remember them, better alternatively you are going to call the system by its domain name. So, in that case DNS is playing a very vital role to identify your requirement and to identify the respective system by which you can get the resources. So, that is the role of DNS. And after that you are going to see the telnet. So, telnet is meant for actually the command line access. Suppose you want to apply some commands. Suppose you are on a terminal, let us say, and you are connected to multi-user system like Unix operating system. Suppose you want to get the resources from the server, Unix server, then you have to apply some commands. So, in that case telnet is actually playing a very vital role to take the command from your side, from your terminal side, and carry the information to the server, and again getting you back the actual whatever the requirement that is your side. So, it will be getting from the server to your client. So, that is why telnet is another important portion which is meant for command line access to devices. And there is one more kind of a portion that is called SSH, secure shell. shell, socket secure shell actually it is, and here it is meant for login on a proper basis, because login is meant for security purpose. Otherwise, anybody can enter into your premises and they can misuse, or they can do any kind of disturbance to the normal activities. So that better to restrict the users and their accessibility, we provide some login mechanism, thereby you have to provide the credentials properly. So based on that, the user is able to log in into your system and able to get the resources as per the requirement. But who is going to do this kind of job? Then SSH is a very important portion which is meant for remote login in a secured basis, so that you cannot say that or you can say that the login is successful, and once the login is successful, you can say that the user is a genuine user and they can have the accessibility overall. So that is why the SSH is also a very important portion which is meant for the secure remote login. And the next layer in the TCP IP protocol is transport layer. So in this case, there are two important, very prominent protocols are available in this, and basically the TCP in the protocol, the transport layer is meant for or responsible for end-to-end communication. End-to-end communication means from starting the source to the destination, or from sender to the receiver. So whatever the nodes that are available in between, so forget about all these things, but from starting to the ending, whatever the transmission that is taking place, then transport layer is totally responsible for carrying out all the transaction from the one end to the other end. So in this, you are finding two important protocols which is called as the TCP, transmission control protocol, for connection oriented and reliable data transmission. Very important word is that connection oriented and also reliable. Why do you say that it is reliable? Once you are familiar about connection oriented, so you can understand why it is called as reliable data transmission. Basically, connection oriented means in the network layer, once you are transmitting the message will be divided into number of packets, and in this case the TCP is going to allow the packets to travel in a single path which is directed by the router. So here the TCP is responsible to allow the packets to travel in the single route, which is suggested by the router. So first packet is directed in one route, automatically all other packets which are meant for a single message will follow the same route. Thereby you can call this particular activity as a connection orientation. So we won't actually connect the systems with a wire physically, but the packet itself is the thing which is actually creating some connection establishment on a temporary basis. So that is why this particular establishment can be called as a connection oriented, and because every packet is traveling in the same route which is suggested by the router, then there is no question of dropping of any packet, because it is already predetermined or pre-designed or predefined kind of a path, so that all packets can successfully travel to the destination. So that is why this particular transmission is called as a reliable data transmission. I think you are clear about why it is called as reliable data transmission. So no dropping of packet is taken place, and no traffic jam or nothing is there which is actually going to disturb the normal transaction. So that is why it is called as a reliable data transmission, because every packet in the TCP is going to follow the same route which is suggested by the router. Whereas in this case of UDP, user datagram protocol, which is called as connectionless and faster, but which is not reliable. Why? Because TCP connection oriented is not possible all the times. So then you have to go for a UDP also, that means connectionless oriented. That means in this case the basic difference is that, so the actual connectionless means you need not have any kind of a fixed route, as we have seen that in the TCP. So you won't find any kind of fixed route which is suggested by the router. So here every packet pertain to the message is going to travel by following different paths which are suggested by different routers in the overall network. So that you see that there are, let us imagine that there are 10 packets. The first packet may reach to the destination finally, and whereas the last packet may reach to the destination initially. So this kind of disorder may takes place in the case of UDP because of the router and their allotment of the path to the packet to travel. So that sometimes the packet may travel in a shortest way, sometimes the packet may travel in a longer way. So that is why this kind of thing may possible. Sometimes the packets may be lost because of the congestion or because of some network problems, the packets may lost in this case. So in this case you can call it as a connectionless, and moreover it is not reliable, but comparatively it is faster. Why it is faster? Because all packets are traveling in different routes, so that packets may reach by following different paths, and they can reach the destination without any kind of traffic that is there in the network. So that is why it is called as reliable and not reliable and the faster, because the packets may go in a different path and reach the destination at early time, whereas it is not reliable because sometimes the packets may be lost because of the networking problems. I think you are clear about what is actually TCP and what is actually the UDP, and now we are going to see that the last one, that is called internet layer protocols. In this this particular layer, this internet layer is meant for addressing. So addressing is a very vital part as to identify the systems of the sender and receiver or source or destination, because unless you know the from where the message is coming, you cannot have any what you can say, the guarantee that from where it is coming. So it is not safe to open the message and to see the message. Nowadays hacking is taking place prominently in the network. We are finding some problems because of hacking. So if you don't know from where it is coming, so sometimes these kind of problems may occur. So that is why the addressing is a very important part you have to follow as far as the communication is concerned. So that the internet layer protocol is responsible to provide the respectable or the important addressing concepts. So here the packet will be delivered to the destination from source to the destination by following two types of addressing pattern. One is called as IP version 4. IP means internet protocol, V is nothing but the version letter, and 4 is the number which actually tells about the size of the address which is meant for that particular addressing the actual the source and destination devices. And IP version 6 is the updated version of IP version 4. Actually IP version 4 and IP version 6, as far as the functionality is concerned, they are similar, but whereas as far as the addressing point of view is concerned, IP version 6 requires, or IP version 6 gives you more and more flexibility to display or mention the addresses which are actually of 128 bit of size. That means actually in the IP version 4 for address only 32 bit is meant, but whereas in the IP version 6 it is 128. That means 4 times of the IP version 4 addressing pattern is actually designated in this case of internet protocol. So basically you remember that IP, the delivering of packets from source to destination by using proper addressing. And there are some other protocols which are available in this ICMP, Internet Control Message Protocol, meant for controlling the messages and for operational information, for pinging and for getting the accessibility to the remote server. So like that ICMP is playing a very important role to access the internet. Then another important protocol, that is called ARP, which is called Address Resolution Protocol. So generally once you say the domain name is not the address you can call. Domain name is some alternative method you are going to identify or address a system, so that it should be properly carried to the system with address. Then automatically once you are actually saying that the domain name, automatically its real address will be resolved by using this ARP protocol, so that the real system or the real device can actually come into the picture and the resources can be served to the needy people. So, now that is why ARP is a very important protocol which is for address resolution. And RARP, that means reverse ARP, that means MAC address, that means media access control address, that is there. Reversely, you can actually convert the MAC address into the IP address, whereas in the ARP, the IP address is converted into the MAC address, whereas in the RARP, so the MAC address is converted into the IP address. So, process is almost all similar, but in the one case it is forward way, in the other case it is in the reverse way. And there is one more protocol, we have IGMP, that is Internet Group Management Protocol. So, it is to manage the group, that means suppose you in the internet, suppose multiple the multicast is taking place, then means what? Multicast means suppose the same message, suppose like our WhatsApp, the same message can be transmitted to different people in the group. Then how do you manage? How do you manage that kind of information in a successful and a secured way? Then IGMP is playing a very important role to actually manage the group of people in the internet, so that the transaction can be done in a successful manner. So, this is the actual information what I am going to say in this lesson, and after listening my lesson, I think the student is able to identify how many layers are there in the TCP IP service model and how many protocols are there, and the naming of the protocols, and also I hope that you know very well about the basic purpose of each and every protocol, for what reason actually it is meant, it is actually placed in the TCP IP protocol. Thank you.